Hello everybody, my name is Robert and this is Review Cool. Now today we're taking a look at this, the Xiaomi Mi 10T Lite. The 10T Lite is the lowest end of the new 10T series that Xiaomi released very recently with the tagline "Power Your Creativity." But for just £220 here in the UK, how good of a phone is this? On paper it sounds great. We have 5G support, 120Hz screen, a 64MB camera on the back as well as 3 others, and a lot more features as well, including 33-watt charging out of the box. So with this in mind, let's get into this full review. But before we do that, if this is the first time that you're seeing my face on your screen, then please do consider dropping down below, hitting that like button, maybe even hitting that subscribe and bell notification icon, so you get notified every time I upload. It's now officially November, which means there's a lot of stuff coming, including the Series X, the PS5, and a lot of content surrounding those, because I'm super excited to get both of them in and start playing with them. Anyway, let's get right into this review of the Xiaomi Mi 10T Lite. So let's talk about what we get in the box, because that's quite important here. So in the box you of course do get the phone, you get that plastic screen protector, you also get one of the rubbery cases, but most importantly you get a USB-C cable and a 33-watt charger. This is one of the biggest or highest capacity chargers that we've ever seen in a smartphone. With the OnePlus giving you a 32-watt charger, Xiaomi had to outdo them with a 33-watt charger in the box, which is insane considering what other people are giving you. Apple. With no charger at all, which still baffles me. They say we're not going to give you a charger because everyone has one already, but then you go ahead and change the cable to a brick that nobody's going to have unless they bought the iPhone 11 or if they bought anything from the sort of iPad series very late on, where you get that USB-C brick. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. That's what you get in the box, that 33-watt charger, and that's really exciting stuff and makes this quite a compelling product at just £220. If you want to see the full unboxing and have a look around the phone, then you can do so. Up there in the cards or down below in the description, I'll have the links there to my original unboxing and first impressions video. So let's talk build quality. Of course, let me just get this out of its case here, and we can see that this is an all plastic body, glass screen, but the plastic back. There we go. Very nice. But its colours are something that I absolutely love. So this is their blue colour. It also comes in a black and one other colour, which I'll throw on the screen now. But personally to me, this is my favourite. Seeing that gradient there that comes across, it's a really beautiful device. I feel like it probably wouldn't last masses of drops and such, but something that Xiaomi are doing which is really nice is one free screen replacement in the first 12 months of you owning the device. If you drop this and smash it, then send it off to Xiaomi and they will replace the screen for free. More companies need to be doing this, especially now in this day and age. We have enough to worry about without cracking our screens as well. Let's talk specs. So in this phone we do get the brand new Snapdragon 750G. This is their brand new 5G chipset. You will only find it in this phone right now, which is really exciting stuff. But what does that mean for performance? Well, this is a pretty performant phone. It sits about the same as the Google Pixel 5. It is not a powerhouse in any sense, but good enough to keep you on a day-to-day basis, and for that price point it's very competitive. So what I've got here is a 6GB RAM model. There is also an 8GB if you want to jump up a little bit. It's going to cost you a little bit more, but you do also get more storage with that. This is the 64GB variant and the 6GB of RAM though. I don't find at all any problems with scrolling between apps and having multiple apps open at once. 6GB seems like a pretty good point now in smartphones, especially for Android. It's becoming very performant in its ways. So let's talk about the screen. The screen is pretty good. It's an LCD display, which does mean you get quite a lot of light bleed, especially around the hole punch camera and around the outside of the screen as well, which is a shame. It is a really good display other than that. It's full HD, obviously, and quite large at 6.37 inches. Also, we get that 120Hz display as well. But there's also adaptive sync, so it will decide when it needs to go up to that 120Hz, mainly while playing games or scrolling media. It's really cool stuff, and it really does make a difference walking through the MIUI experience with that 120Hz swiping. So when most companies are giving you a 90Hz display, again Apple are just giving that 90Hz, 120 at this price point is something quite incredible. So let's really quickly talk cameras, and as a side note, the way that the camera bump is designed on this phone is really nice, in that you can sit this down on a surface and it doesn't wobble at all anywhere whenever you're pressing somewhere on the screen, just because of how centralised it is, so good job there. We also get a 64 megapixel main shooter, we get an 8 megapixel ultra wide, a 2 megapixel macro, and a 2 megapixel depth camera as well. What that means is that you get really good images wherever you are. Now, Xiaomi are marketing this phone with the tagline, "Power your creativity." And I really do understand why they're doing that, because the software behind this camera is pretty incredible. There's some really fun and cool features, including a vlogger mode, a dual screen mode, light painting, and so much more. I'll give you some examples now, but I'm also working on a full video looking at every single mode that they have for both photos and for video. So let's have a look at some of those pictures now. And as you can see, the selfie camera on the front here is pretty good. You get some nice images out of it, you get that nice blurred background, but these look better with that 2 megapixel depth camera on the back. I find video quality to be fairly good, if a little overly sharp at times, so I might disable that AI mode because it can sometimes do a little bit too much. But HDR and 64 megapixels make this a really good phone for taking pictures. They're of course not going to be as good as the Google Pixel 5 and maybe even the Mi 10T with its 108 megapixel camera, but it's very good for that £220 price point that I'm going to keep coming back to, because I genuinely can't believe that they've managed to get this much tech and performance into a phone for this price point. So on the front you do also get that 16 megapixel camera, which is very good at taking selfies, but I mean, it's a selfie camera, it's what you expect. There's quite a high beauty mode, so I would turn that off quite quickly, and maybe if you want to do some editing, do it in a third-party app or on your own back. Anyway, let's talk sound quality. Now, this phone does do a dual sound system from the bottom there and from the top earpiece there as well. The sound is okay. I find it gets a little bit tinny as you get to higher volume, so I would keep it at a lower volume if you're watching films. But again, you wouldn't really need to be using these dual speakers because you still have that 3.5mm jack, and I love that Xiaomi and other companies are still doing this. At such a low price point, you still get a really killer feature that some people still use. My partner loves having wired earphones, so she goes mad for a 3.5mm jack. Personally, I'm more of a Bluetooth guy, but of course this does support Bluetooth, so I can go ahead and plug in my Bluetooth headphones and listen away to music, but having the option for that 3.5mm jack is nice. Speakers, get a solid from me. 5G is here. All Apple memes aside, this phone does support 5G, which is something quite incredible. For such a low price point and to be able to support 5G networks is insane. Now, there is a 5G network near me. It's not great, so I actually haven't had a chance to really try it out yet. I would love to be able to try out a 5G network, and I'm trying to work my way on to getting a SIM card that will support it, so we can come back to it and find out exactly what those speeds mean. But personally, I'm more than happy with the network quality of my 4G network and everything else. This phone will pretty much work anywhere in the world, as will most Mi phones now. You can take this and it will connect to basically any network you give it. So connectivity is a real plus here. We of course get Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, NFC as well. Charging, unfortunately there is no wireless charging here, so you can't drop it on a pad, But with that 33-watt charger in the box, I don't think you have to worry too much about ever having a dead battery. But let's move on to that one. Battery life. Now, for such a big phone, you would expect a big battery. This phone has a 4820 milliamp hour battery, which is big. I'm finding that I'm really struggling to actually use all of the battery on this. So I've been using this solidly for the last day, and I'm at 77% battery. That's with watching YouTube videos, listening to some podcasts, maybe not playing any games or really using it heavily, but in a day to lose just under 25% of my battery is insane. You could probably use this phone for a heavy user for 2 days and still have a tiny bit of juice left. So that's really nice to see. Of course, I did touch earlier on that 33-watt fast charger in the box as well, which does mean that when you do plug this in just about an hour, you're going to have a full battery again ready to go. Like, it's incredible, the speed of the charging and the actual battery life itself. This is definitely a all-dayer, maybe even a 2-dayer if you really want it to be. So let's talk haptics, something that not many people talk about but can be quite important for some people. Haptics here are pretty good. They feel very solid, and as I'm typing away here, it gives me enough feedback to know that I've done something, but it's not too heavy, but it's also subtle enough to not feel like it's vibrating the whole phone, if you get what I mean. If you've ever used Apple's haptic system, their haptic engine is second to none. This is just under that for me. It's very, very good, but it's definitely not market leading. In terms of software, this is running Android 10 or MIUI 12. The software skin is fine, it's very much a Xiaomi experience. Most of their first-party apps do have ads, and it's incredibly annoying, but it is one of the ways that they managed to keep these phones so cheap. You can, of course, install third-party launchers and root this device if you really don't want to see those apps. But what's quite nice is you do still obviously get Android apps on here. You get all of the Google suites as opposed to some of their competitors like Huawei. You still get all your Android apps here, and it's still a very much an Android experience, which is nice to see. They do have some enhancements, including their photo enhancements, which I've spoken about a little bit earlier. Their Power Your Creativity slogan really comes out there in terms of its different photo and video modes. There's also some power management and some storage management, and a theme engine as well, which is very solid and has always been pretty good on Xiaomi phones, if that's something that you care about. So let's talk gaming performance. If you've got a screen this big, you're probably going to want to be playing games on it. Thankfully, this chipset is certainly up to it. I've been playing the Call of Duty Mobile, I've been playing PUBG Mobile, and I've been playing some xCloud games as well. They've all run incredibly well on this phone. With that 120Hz display, it felt like I was getting the upper hand in those first-person shooters. Everything felt smoother and more fluid than ever. Obviously, it may not be able to run at that ultra standard, but it is good enough to run at a very high standard. It looks good, it sounds fairly good with these speakers, but most importantly, you will never find it lagging, which is incredibly important for these FPS-style games. Anyway guys, this has been my review of the Xiaomi Mi 10T Lite. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is a good phone for just £220, or do you think you should wait and maybe pick up the more expensive 10T or 10T Pro model? And of course, if you did enjoy this video, then do please let me know in the comment section down below by liking, commenting, subscribing, and maybe even hitting that bell notification icon. And I will catch you in the next one. Adios.